Jacob, Israel. Jacob did as his father Isaac had told him and left Canaan. He was on his way to Mesopotamia where his mother's people lived. One night when Jacob camped, he took one of the rocks from the area and used it as a pillow. While he was sleeping, he had a dream. In his dream he saw a ladder. The bottom of it was on the ground by him, and the top reached up into the heavens. He saw angels or messengers of God going up and down the ladder. Jacob saw God standing above the ladder. God said to Jacob, "I am the God of your forefathers, Abraham and Isaac. The land you are lying on I will give to you and your race. Your race will be like the dust of the earth, so it cannot be counted, and shall spread all over the world. All peoples of the world will benefit from your race. Be assured that I am with you and will guard you wherever you go. I will bring you peacefully back into this land. I will not leave you until I have done all I have promised." Then Jacob woke up and was afraid, exclaiming, "God is certainly here, and I did not know it. What an amazing place this is! This must be the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." He then lay down and went back to sleep. When he awoke the next morning, he took the rock he had slept on and put it up on its end and poured oil on it. He named the place Beth-el, which means God's house. Jacob made a vow to God, saying, "If you will stay with me, guard me on my journey, give me food to eat and clothes to wear, and bring me back safely to my father's house, you will be my God. The stone that I used as a pillow will mark the house of God, and of all that you give me, I will return a 10th part to you." Then Jacob continued on his journey. He came to a small town and stopped by a well that had a big stone on it. This was where the people of the area watered their animals, so there were men and sheep there. Jacob asked them, "Brothers, where are you from?" They answered, "We are from Charan." Jacob asked them, "Do you know Laban, and is he well?" They replied, "Yes, here comes his daughter Rachel with his flock of sheep." Jacob asked them, "It is the middle of the day. Is it not time to water the animals so they can go out to eat?" They told him, "We wait until all the flocks are here before we move the stone off the well to water them." While they were talking, Rachel arrived, and Jacob rolled the rock off the well and watered the sheep. Then he went over to Rachel, the daughter of Laban of Rebekah's family, and kissed her and wept, and told her who he was. Rachel ran to her father and told him. Laban came out to meet Jacob and hugged and kissed him and took him back to his house. Then Laban said, "You are my relation. Please stay for a while." Jacob stayed for 5 days. Then Laban asked Jacob to work for him and to tell him what he would want for wages. Laban had 2 daughters. The older was Leah and the younger was Rachel. Jacob had already fallen in love with Rachel. She was so beautiful to him. Jacob said, "I will work for you for 7 years if you will give me Rachel, your youngest daughter, as a wife." Laban agreed. So Jacob worked 7 years for Laban. The time passed quickly for Jacob because he loved Rachel so much. At the end of 7 years, Jacob told Laban, "The time is up. Let me marry Rachel." Laban prepared a wedding feast, but when it was dark, he tricked Jacob and brought in Leah, Rachel's sister. The next morning, Jacob discovered what Laban had done and said, "Why have you cheated me? I worked 7 years for Rachel, not Leah." Laban answered, "It is our custom in this country to marry the older first, then the younger. Work for me for another 7 years, and you can have Rachel too." Jacob agreed because his love for Rachel was so strong. Since it was the custom at that time to have more than one wife, Jacob married Rachel. He loved Rachel more than Leah. God saw this and allowed Leah to have babies, but did not allow Rachel to have any. Over many years' time, Jacob and Leah had 4 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. This made Rachel jealous, so, as was the custom then, she gave her servant Bilhah to Jacob for a wife. Bilhah had 2 sons which Rachel named Dan and Naphtali. Leah also gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob for a wife. Zilpah had 2 sons which Leah named Gad and Asher. Then Leah had 2 more sons, named Issachar and Zebulun, and 1 daughter named Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel and allowed her and Jacob to have a son. They named him Joseph, which means increase. Jacob asked Laban to release him from work so he could take his wives and children back to his own country. Laban begged him, saying, "Please stay. I have seen that God blesses me when you are here. Just tell me what your wages are to be, and I will give them." Jacob said, "You know how good my work has been for you. Your herds have grown into a multitude, and I have none. If you will allow me this one thing, I will continue to work for you. Give me all of the goats, sheep, and cattle that are spotted and speckled, and all the black lambs. They will be my wages. In this way you will clearly be able to see that I have not stolen from you." Laban replied, "It shall be exactly as you say." Jacob did as he had said and separated out the animals he had asked for. Then he gave the herd to his sons and told them to take them away from Laban's herds. They went 3 days away and stayed there while Jacob stayed to tend Laban's herds. While Jacob tended the sheep over the next few years, he used herbs to make more of the cattle, sheep, and goats spotted and speckled. His herds grew and grew. One day Jacob overheard Laban's sons saying, "Jacob is getting rich off our father." So Jacob watched Laban's face and could see that he was not as friendly as he used to be. One night God spoke to Jacob in a dream. The next day Jacob called his wives Rachel and Leah out to the field with him. He told them, "I see that your father is not pleased with me any more. You know that I served your father well, but he deceived me and changed my wages many times. The God of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, is with me. He did not allow Laban to do evil to me and gave me abundance. An angel came to me in a dream and said, 'Jacob, I have seen all that Laban did to you. I am the God of Beth-el, the house of God where you put up the pillar and vowed a gift. Go from this place and return to the country of your birth.'" Rachel and Leah told Jacob, "We have nothing here to hold us. Our father sold us to you, and he has taken all our money and our inheritance. Do all that God has said to do." Jacob gathered all his property, his herds, his servants, and put his children and wives onto camels and prepared to leave. Laban was away at the time, and Rachel went in and took the statue of his God, which was not the God of Abraham and Isaac. According to their traditions, whoever had possession of this statue had the rights of inheritance. Jacob did not know Rachel had taken the idol. Then Jacob and his family left Mesopotamia. 3 days later Laban returned and heard that Jacob had left. He saw that the statue of his God was gone, so he took his sons and went after Jacob. They followed him for several days. One night when Laban had camped, the God of Abraham and Isaac came to him in a dream and warned him, "Be careful what you do to Jacob, for good or bad." The next day Laban still continued on and caught up with Jacob. Laban said to Jacob, "What are you doing taking my daughters and grandchildren away like prisoners? Why did you sneak away and deceive me? I would have sent you off with celebrations. It was foolish of you to do this. Truly there is a God who guides me in not doing evil to you, because the God of your father came to me last night and told me to deal carefully with you. Go ahead and return to your father. But why did you steal the statue of my God?" Jacob replied, "I left the way I did because I was afraid you would take your daughters from me. If your statue is here, I do not know anything about it. You may look through all my things, and if you find anything that is yours, take it." Laban went through all the tents and searched for his statue. When he got to Rachel's tent, he searched everywhere, but Rachel had put the statue under her camel saddle and sat on the saddle. When Laban got to her, she said, "I am sorry, but I cannot get up. The way of women is on me." So Laban left her and found nothing. Because Laban had found nothing, Jacob was furious and said, "What have I done to make you come after me? You searched through everything and found nothing that was yours. I have worked for you for 20 years. I have been honest with you, but you have not been honest with me. If the God of Abraham and Isaac had not been with me, you would have sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen my hardship under you and the honest work of my hands and has defended me." Laban answered, "The daughters and grandchildren are of me. I cannot hurt them. Let us make a covenant of friendship between ourselves." Jacob agreed and took a stone and turned it up on end and said, "Let everyone collect stones." They all brought stones and made a heap and ate together there by the heap of stones. Jacob named the place the heap of witness, and Laban named it the watchtower. Then Laban said to Jacob, This heap is a witness between us today. Let God watch over you and me and keep evil from us. If either of us goes past this heap of stones to do evil, let God judge between us." Jacob then swore by the God of his father Isaac, and gave an offering to God on the heap, and they all rested for the night. The next morning they prepared to leave, and Laban kissed his daughters and grandchildren goodbye, blessed them, and returned home. Jacob and his family continued on to Canaan. As Jacob went on his way, angels of God went past him. Jacob said, "What a glorious place this is! It is God's encampment," and that is what he named the place. Jacob had to pass through the country of Edom, which belonged to Esau his brother. Jacob was a little afraid because he did not know if Esau still wanted to kill him or not. Jacob sent some of his servants ahead to take a friendly message to Esau. When they returned, they said, "We went to your brother Esau. He is coming out to meet you with 400 men." This information worried Jacob, so he divided his people and his herds into 2 camps. If Esau attacked one camp, there would still be one left. Jacob prayed to God, saying, "I am not worthy of all you have given me. I went to Laban's with nothing and am returning to my father with 2 camps. Please save me from the hand of my brother. I am afraid he will kill my wives and children." Jacob rested that night. The next morning he selected several animals out of his herds and told some of his servants to go ahead of him towards Edom. When they came to Esau, they were to give him the animals as a gift. Jacob hoped to ease Esau's anger towards him. Again Jacob camped for the night, but he sent his wives and children and all the rest of his possessions on across the stream. When he was left alone, a man appeared and wrestled with him. Jacob knew that the man was an angel of God. When the man saw that he could not beat Jacob, he touched Jacob's hip and dislocated it. The man said, "Let me go, it is dawn." Jacob said, "I will not let you go until you bless me." The man asked, "What is your name?" Jacob told him. The man replied, "Your name is no longer Jacob. Now it is Israel, meaning he who strives with God, because you have wrestled with a messenger of God and have won." Jacob asked the man what his name was, but the man said, "Why do you need to know my name?" Then the man blessed Jacob and left. Jacob named that place the Face of God, because he said, "I have seen God face to face and still live." The sun rose, and Jacob, limping, crossed over the stream to his family. Jacob saw that Esau and his 400 men were getting closer. He arranged his children with their mothers. He placed the maids, Bilhah and Zilpah, and their children first, Leah and her children second, and Rachel and Joseph last. He then went ahead of them, bowing 7 times as he came closer to Esau. Esau ran to Jacob and hugged and kissed him, crying because he was so happy to see his brother. Esau asked, "Who are these people with you?" Jacob replied, "The children that God has given me." Then each group rode up to Jacob and Esau and bowed. Esau asked, "Why did you send your servants with gifts for me?" "To find favor in your eyes," replied Jacob. Esau told him, "I have plenty. Keep what is yours." Jacob said, "No, please, if I have found favor in your eyes, accept my gifts. I am as happy to see you as if I had seen the face of God, and you are happy to see me. God has blessed me with enough for both of us." Jacob finally convinced Esau to accept his gifts. Esau said, "Let us travel along together." Jacob answered, "I have many children and cattle and sheep. If I push the sheep for a full day, they will die. You go on ahead, and we will continue on at our own pace." So Esau returned to his home in Edom. Jacob traveled on to Canaan, to the city of Shechem. He bought the land where he pitched his tents and built an altar there. He named the place God, the God of Israel. After a while, Jacob's family had some problems with the people of Shechem. God came to Jacob and said, "Gather your family and all your possessions and move to Bethel and live there. When you arrive there, build an altar to me." Jacob said to his family and servants, "Give me all your statues of your false gods and purify yourselves. Change your clothes and prepare to move. We are going to Bethel to live. When we get there, we will build an altar to the God of Abraham and Isaac, who took pity on me when I needed help." So his family turned over to him all their false idols and their earrings, which were charms for their false gods. Jacob buried it all under an oak tree. Then they gathered their possessions and left. During the trip, God appeared to Jacob and said to him, "Your name is no longer Jacob. I name you Israel. I am the Almighty God. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and many nations will come from you, and many kings will come from you and your descendants. The land that I gave to Abraham and Isaac, your forefathers, I give to you and your descendants." When God left him, Israel, Jacob's new name, built an altar of stone and named the place God's house, Bethel. Then Israel continued on and stopped outside of Bethlehem. Soon, Rachel, who was going to have a baby, went into labor. The childbirth was very hard on her. The midwives told Rachel her baby was a boy. Then her soul passed from her and she died. Israel named the boy Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. Israel buried his beloved Rachel and erected a pillar of stone over her grave. Israel went to Migdal-Edar, just outside of Jerusalem, to live. He stayed there for a time before moving back to Hebron in Canaan, where Isaac lived.